Hey there, wanted to cut in before the episode to let you know that this year's Duck Stream, our annual 48-hour streaming event that we do to benefit the Transactive Gender Project out of Lewis and Clark College, that's going to be happening the first weekend of December, the weekend starting on December the 5th. There will be more information about specifics up at Duckfeed.tv, but we wanted to get a save the date out there and build up some hype. It's always fun.
Yeah. Even if you don't need to know the programming.
Nope.
Just tune in.
Just tune in.
You'll like it. It'll be fine.
It's us.
It's fun every year. Yeah. And donate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's it. Just mark that on your calendar and subscribe or follow the Duckfeed Twitch channel, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're there, or else.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Toonstruck, which is a point-and-click adventure game developed by Burst Studios and published by Virgin Interactive Entertainment for the PC in 1996.
Yeah. And this episode is executive produced by ForgeBot.
Thank you, ForgeBot. Yeah. One I've always meant to get around to playing.
Yeah, same. Like, I don't know how much I like this. Just fine. This is fine.
That's fine.
I thought, yeah.
Like, it's replacement level point-and-click adventure game stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Nothing wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
If I had played it at the time, lost my mind.
Absolutely.
Would have been the coolest thing in the world. And I love an obscure adventure game. And this one's interesting because it has no reason to be obscure.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of talent that's in this is nuts.
Wild.
This is the story of Drew Blank, a beleaguered cartoonist played by Christopher Lloyd. He's sucked into a cartoon world and has to assemble a machine in order to return to his own world.
Yes.
So Roger Rabbit, the adventure game.
Yeah, we're doing a reverse Roger Rabbit in this instance. We got a real guy.
Yeah.
a real guy in there mixed in with the tunes and noids. And Christopher Lloyd is a very good person to have cast for this.
It's interesting because in this he plays a straight man. For the most part, which is not very Christopher Lloyd.
Right.
Also just continually wrapped around the axle on exactly how old Christopher Lloyd is at any given time.
Yeah.
Like just an ageless man. Like now he looks old, but I feel like it wasn't until 2020 they looked old for the first time.
Whenever
really old,
like they brought him out at like an MTV thing or like maybe it was a games event where they brought him and Michael J. Fox out in character, and it was vaguely depressing because Christopher Lloyd was real old and Michael J. Fox, he's got a condition. Yeah. He doesn't speak or look like he used to back then. Yeah. Oh.
It's just kind of hard to think that this was like 96 and he still basically looks like an old man.
Yeah.
When I said first time he looked old, I mean like older than, it's like he was born at 40 and then he just cruised for 40 years and then all of a sudden became 120.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like.
It's like the Polaroid of Dorian Gray. Like, okay, nothing. And then all at once.
The Benjamin Button randomizer hit him or something.
It's his disheveledness and his elasticity of expression, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that contributes to it. But I will not rule out the supernatural there. The play is about as standard as it gets for point and click adventure games here. You explore scenes, pick up and combine items, talk to characters. It's all there.
Yes. And there are not verbs in this. This is kind of along the streamlining that happened in the genre. There's just context sensitive clicks. You right click generally to observe, left click to try to do something with it. It also, as was the style at the time, from time to time, you have a cartoon sidekick. Your original character, Flux Wildly here. Very similar to how they do it in Sound Max, you can use Flux to take advantage of him being a cartoon.
Yes.
So he can do things you can't do. You can kind of use him as an inventory object from time to time.
The visual design on Flux is wild to me. Like, what if we made the Olympic mascot Izzy more abstract?
He reminds me of Pit Pat from Mr. Show a little bit, like just a pansexual spokes thing.
Oh God. Dialogue trees are handled in a way that I haven't seen before here. So instead of having the text written out, there are icons that represent the topics, and Christopher Lloyd is recorded saying all the things. And every conversation has like an icebreaker, like a generalized kind of what's up topic that is represented as an ice cube. This took me a minute to figure out.
Oh yeah.
But the cube melts as you go through the options, letting you know like if there's still stuff left to be said.
For all the world, I thought it was breaking the ice.
Yeah.
Which is why you do this, but the ice doesn't break. The expression isn't like come up with some things to melt the ice.
Yeah.
In a conversation. It's real weird. I don't know why it does that. It took me a little bit too. This game is largely nonlinear. You basically have a scavenger hunt to acquire 12 items to create a cutification machine to counter the villainous Malevolator. This UFO Dr. Robotnik vehicle that flies around and turns cute things evil.
Right.
So this is your grand MacGuffin. The Malevolator is powered by 12 random objects, and you have to find their opposites. These are actually counterparts in idioms. So like in this, the opposite of bells is whistles, or the opposite of spit is polish. I thought I was absolutely doomed when I first saw this, and I was like, do I have to try to figure out what the opposite of spit is? Like, what does that mean?
Obviously, the opposite of spit is weed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose so. But it's difficult.
Yes.
This on what axes? What is the opposite of a bell?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like a cat isn't an opposite of a dog. Like is the opposite of a bell like a star system? I don't know. Like what is as far apart as it could be?
Yeah. The objects that you need are not like called out. Like when Christopher Lloyd enters a screen with one of these things, it's not like, yes, there are the bells that correspond to my whistles. That the whistles in the Malevolator. The objects themselves can be different than the literal object indicated by the required word. So like for nuts and bolts, you've got to find nuts, and it's not the mechanical piece, metal nuts. They're like tree nuts that you have to get. Like those suffice as homophones.
Yeah. One of the frustrating things about this game that is just kind of part of the lineage it's in is that having this kind of overall quest where you're trying to get these items does contribute to a pretty serious item bloat in this. Yes. You're going to be carrying around a lot of items that there's not a lot of signaling whether this is something for the cutifier or whether this is something for a more immediate puzzle.
Yeah. Also, it could be both.
Yes. Yeah. That ends up being a little bit frustrating. And there's kind of a general lack of, just for the era, lack of tightness to the puzzle design in this. I think in part because it's trying to do a lot of cartoon logic, which sometimes works pretty well and sometimes works less well. And then running into something I talked about during Stasis, which is the metal stick problem.
Yeah.
Where like the game wants you to have a screwdriver to shimmy something open, but you also have a ruler. And like it's just kind of guessing which one it wants you to do.
Yeah.
Or you're just kind of guessing which one it wants you to do. I wouldn't say that the puzzles in this game are particularly like super tight. I've also been like spoiled by modern revival adventure games.
That's the thing.
Like I'm, comparing this to Thimbleweed Park or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, it's a little bit more abstract, semi-derogatory in how the inventory puzzles work.
Yeah. But your inventory is huge in this.
Yes. Also all represented by icons.
Yes.
So you have to recognize little low-res dealies from time to time.
Yeah. The world state will change as you make progress through these kind of 3 lands or kingdoms. These are wildly uneven in terms of how much development they get.
Yes. Yeah. There's a trouble development for this game, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
We start out in Qtopia, which is a happy, bright, like animal land. It's very kitty. Xanadu is for like Animaniacs. It's the anarchy cartoons, the cartoons that do violence to each other and such. And then the Malevolands are the R. Crumb, Fritz the Cat zone. This is where the cartoons have sex implied.
Yes.
In the Malevolands.
Yeah. Even in the depths of the Malevolands, it's not possible to die. There are no dead ends. There are no game overs. This is good. I do not need to see Christopher Lloyd die.
Yeah. Well, buckle up.
Yep. Oh, wait a minute.
Not to be too morbid, but I don't think there's a long clock on that one.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it's a FMV, half cartoon kind of thing. Here, this shows its age now. It doesn't look perfect. At the time, this would have blown minds.
Absolutely.
There are little cinematic cutscenes that look like Roger Rabbit, basically, and Roger Rabbit blew minds. Look as good. That'll happen here. It's also just very well made. Yeah. The way that the cartoon sequences, the way that they're like, it's not perfect animation or anything like that, but there is like a personality to the cartoons. It doesn't feel like it's just doing Disney or just doing Looney Tunes or anything like that. There is kind of like a older sensibility to it that I like.
Yeah. It looks really good. And when we talk about the production of this, like, it's kind of funny because the way that they shot this is just how movies are made now.
Yeah.
Even when they had a set, they didn't use it. It was still digital inserts and stuff.
Like green screens and shit.
Yeah. The cast in this is pretty loaded. Even if you look past Christopher Lloyd, we have Tim Curry voicing the villainous Count Nefarious, not the true villain of the game, but he is one of them. Not a good guy. And that role was written for him, and you can kind of tell, although it's not. Yeah. There's not a lot of him. Is the problem?
He doesn't really go full Tim Curry either.
No.
Yes, which is a little bit of a bummer. Dan Castellaneta plays Flux Wildly. So that's, and that's appropriate for this. Dom DeLuise has a cameo. Ben Stein has a cameo. And then there are a lot of voice acting. People like Tress MacNeille plays a major role. You'll know her from The Simpsons and things like that. We get like Rob Paulson, Frank Welker, all these animation jobbers who are generally great professionals doing really good work.
Yeah. But Tress MacNeille opens your mouth and like, oh, that's Tress MacNeille.
Yeah. Elbow my date. There's Tress MacNeille.
The music in the game, it's a mix of original compositions and public domain tunes. That is all appropriate. Nothing sticks out as like a real bummer about this.
No, appropriate is like the best word for it.
Yeah.
Like it moves things along, the music. This game, I'm glad you have this as a note. I generally enjoyed this as an adventure game. It should be funnier.
It should.
You would think it'd be funnier. And I think part of it is the decision to make Christopher Lloyd the straight man in it. Christopher Lloyd has really great comic timing.
He does.
IRL. And there are a couple of things he does in this that are kind of funny, but generally it's more like the humor of being aware of the tropes.
Yes.
And kind of playing with them as opposed to jokes. And I'm always going to favor jokes as a thing, like something that has laughs as opposed to a tone in which you could imagine laughs eventually growing. It's just kind of like, it's the difference between like eating a mushroom and like looking at a substrate where a mushroom might grow.
Yeah. Like,
this is a substrate.
Yum, agar.
Yeah. This is yum, agar kind of thing. It's not like pulling teeth. It's not constantly trying to make jokes that fail, which is worse. It's just the characters express the information in a way that is vaguely humor-ish.
Humory.
Humor adjacent, but the joke will be like they have a vocal tick and they impersonate a celebrity.
Yes.
Like the gym guy is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
That's really kind of it.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of the beginning and end of that joke.
Mm-hmm.
That is how like Animaniacs worked. That's how cartoons of this time worked. But it's also pitching this towards a more adult sense of humor as well. Like there are weird, kind of sex things or weird references that are a little bit out of the pocket for an Animaniacs, target audience that there's a little bit of attention with it, I think.
Yeah, it all feels a little bit like missed opportunities. They had a tremendous amount of resources and a huge amount of talent put into this, at their disposal, let's say.
Yeah.
And the stuff they decided to do with it, it just hits real soft.
It's writing. Like it is literally one of those things where like you can have all the talent in the world and have all these technical, kind of bona fides, but you need a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needed somebody who is better at turns of phrase and clever plotting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah. Onto the development. So Burst Entertainment, not a huge studio and wasn't around for very long. This was owned by Virgin Interactive and founded in 1995. What's
1996. Virgin Interactive, aka me in 1996. the Virgin Interactive is very funny. That's up there with Real Time Associates and Gremlin Interactive. Has very funny names.
It is very funny, yeah. But this was founded, a couple years before release, and their first game that they put out was Spot Goes to Hollywood. So not inspiring a lot of faith there. The studio's focus was to make these games with high production values, kind of whiz bang style stuff.
Yeah. Development started in 1993 and ended up stretching into 1996, even though it was originally meant to be released in 1995. Mm-hmm. The total budget exceeded $8 million for a mid-90s game, especially a graphic adventure game. Mm-hmm. That is a lot of money.
It's absurd.
Yes, that is an absurd amount of money. Mm-hmm. And that window, missing that 1995 window kind of matters because the adventure game genre was spoiling.
Yes.
As we speak. As you go through it. So like getting this out a year earlier might have made a difference.
Yeah.
For it. Like it was in the process of dying.
Mm-hmm. When they came up with this, the original concept was a game aimed at kids more squarely, where the hero is fighting this villain who is draining a cartoon world of color. But this evolved into a more adult story. And they do that thing where they talk about, our original intention was to make this a sprawling psychological tale that would have tackled these, very difficult topics of creative blocks and just a bunch of stuff that's not apparent on the screen when you sit down and play this. But I swear all of that was going to be in the second half, which was cut.
There's little tiny bits of it peeking out in like the basic premise. And then it just kind of turns into a video game.
Yeah.
As you go, and becomes something a lot more standard. I'm okay with that. I don't want a story about people having creative blocks.
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't need creative people wanking each other off in stuff like this. But I also would have liked a headier version of this.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Because what we have ends up being a little bit in the middle.
It's just something that we've run into we've run into this a bit recently,
Yes. The claim versus the reality.
Right. Matthew Lillard saying, the original script of the Wing Commander movie, the one that got me to sign on was amazing. It's like, was it though?
Yeah. I don't necessarily know if I believe you. Or there's even little bits of this with the developers of like Fable 2.
Yes.
It was going to be like this. And it's like, well, it only kind of matters a little bit what it was going to be.
Yes.
The world is that which is the case.
Mm-hmm.
So production was very demanding and time consuming. Virgin was riding high off the success of The Seventh Guest, willing to invest in technology and processes that would push the limits of the CD-ROM. They wanted this to be a system seller, basically like a Myst, a technical showcase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they threw tons of resources. Hundreds of hours of footage were shot, basically in like a Matrix camera rig, multiple angles and distances, with the idea being that no matter what we decide to do in post, as the character is playing this game, we want to incorporate Christopher Lloyd into this as seamlessly as possible, kind of at all these different scales.
Yeah. And they more or less did that pretty well.
Yeah.
For the time. Virgin contracted Nelvana to do the animation work, and a full expensive animation pipeline was brought to bear on this project.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the project, Virgin had Burst switch from using their own engine to using the engine from Westwood's most recent Legend of Kyrandia game.
Yes.
And this shift caused production to lose 18 months of debugging. And again, that matters because we're on a clock.
Yes.
For getting this out the door.
Just half of production time spent.
Yep. Fucking the Kyrandia hours.
Oh man, they were really proud of that engine, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
The work of Malcolm, the evil jester from Kyrandia. Do you know the villain from Kyrandia? His name is Malcolm.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's just it's an evil jester.
I read the graphic adventure book a couple of times, but that everything about Kyrandia just slides off my dome.
Yeah,
it just does not. It's not memorable to me.
I have a vague soft spot for that Westwood era of adventure games, but just because I played them when I was young, I have no idea if they would stand up.
Blade Runner's good.
Yeah, Blade Runner's great.
Yeah.
Companions of Xanth, fucking killer.
Wasn't that Legend? That was Legend.
That was Legend. Yeah. I was just having fun thinking about old adventure games.
Old also ran adventure games. Yeah.
Yeah. Superhero League of Hoboken.
So all of these difficulties and the delays made it impossible for them to make the game as they intended. So they split the story in two, with the more ambitious stuff being moved into the second game that they were sure they were going to make. And the writers kind of hastily had to come up with this cliffhanger ending that we got.
One of the funniest things I found when looking into this game was screenshots of the second half next to that claim.
Yep.
So like, we're putting the heady stuff in the second half. And then the screenshot they used, was Drew in an Old West town.
Old West shootout, baby.
Yeah, Old West shootout. And I was like, that's where they're doing all the psychological stuff about the creative process is when he goes to the Old Western times.
Uh-huh.
So they did all these cuts and everything. The game, despite doing that, the game was still delayed. So we mentioned in 95, 96, and Virgin Interactive lost millions on this. This was, got really good reviews. Which seems right for the time. Everyone did love the production values. People did not like the puzzles or interface very much, which is as you'd expect. It didn't sell well.
Yeah.
It just, it needed to make a lot of money. And that's kind of this happens now all the time. This idea of we have to make something that is full of shock and awe production values. And then consequently it needs to sell a billion copies or it's a failure. This is an early example of something that's very current and modern feeling.
Yes. And they blamed a bunch of things. They blamed the packaging or just the way that it was marketed, because you see something with cartoons on the box, you think that this is for kids. And the kid market is kind of lower scale than what they needed to recoup this cost. And they also blamed, by this point, the point and click adventure games, were kind of flagging a little bit.
Yeah.
We were not quite at the 1999 death knell that you would get.
But we were past like the golden age of this.
Yeah.
So there was that planned sequel that was going to have all the heady stuff. They got canceled pretty quickly after these sales figures came in. Shortly after this, EA would acquire Burst along with Westwood, and Burst was renamed to Westwood Pacific, and we've covered games by them. We did Nox on WoF. WoF I have a soft spot for, because what a weird little game.
Yeah.
And then Golden Nugget 64 on Abject Suffering.
Yeah. Their final game, because they also worked on Command and Conquer stuff, their final game was Command and Conquer Generals, a game that I have a little bit of a soft spot for. And after that, the studio was just kind of folded into EA Los Angeles. Some people struck out to make their own studio afterward. I did not recognize anything they made.
No. Their audio director is still active on social media, Keith Aram. He's been trying to drum up interest in a remastered version that would add in some of these cut parts of the story. This campaign has gone on for more than a decade. And there are just kind of fan petitions and Facebook groups. You can find on YouTube trailers for kind of fan put together sequels and versions of this as well. Like, this has a dedicated fandom, and there's the kit to make the thing they want. Like, you can go online and actually find like a lot of footage from the second half of this. A lot of which Keith has posted on his Instagram or on his YouTube channel. It's out there. They have hundreds of hours of voice acting from this crew and animation. They're just not connected by a game.
Right.
So you can understand how this would be an incredibly tempting thing to a fan community. Like that's the hardest part of this. That's the part that costs the money. The money part is more or less done. The big money part. A German fan studio who wants to make this point and click adventure game cannot hire, hire these actors.
Right.
And stuff. So
yeah,
if people didn't know that listening to this, point and click adventure games, still the biggest thing in the world in Germany.
Yep.
Huge. The games over here, classics of the genre, regularly get remade. Over there, there's like a remade new graphics version of Maniac Mansion that came out a few years ago.
Wild.
Things like that, like all these things that keep coming out in German, because the German people love point and click adventure games.
No, and at least that I enjoy them too. So
yeah, it's something I have in common with the Germans.
Yeah,
it's that, and I have a Spetzel. Fucking rocks, super good.
Yeah,
Gabriel Knight 2.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. So we start off with our animator, Drew Blank. He's working on a show, the Fluffy Fluffy Bun Bun Show. His dentist calls him about a missed appointment. This is basically establishing him as scatterbrained.
Yes.
He's behind, he's beleaguered, and he can't get his shit together.
Nope.
His boss, Sam Schmaltz, which is Ben Stein, doing a weird performance.
Yeah.
Of this. What we're going to do is a fluffy, but like he's just doing the Ben Stein voice. I don't think he's adjusting his performance at all for his position in this.
No. He's even sleepier than Ben Stein usually is, and that's kind of his whole thing. It feels real like I got to get out of here by 3.
Yes. Krusty poses for a trading card photo. He calls him into his office and he's like, listen, we've come up with a new idea. We're going to reboot Fluffy Fluffy Bun Bun. I need you to draw 25 new shitty friends for Fluffy by tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
This abuse. This is not about this is going to be about creative blocks and not about worker abuse. Is also you can tell it was in 96 rather than 2024. Yeah.
So agonized, Drew is unable to come up with anything and he falls asleep. But then his TV turns on and it is showing Fluffy Bun Bun. I hate that title so much. And Drew tries to turn it off, but this UFO flies out of the screen and zaps him. This is Count Nefarious using the Malevolator to bring him into the cartoon world.
Yes, it can turn the cartoon world dark and do this
in
ways that need not really be specified.
She does other things.
I have a life outside this house, During this whole bit, he's been kind of looking at wistfully at his drawing of Flux Wildly.
Yes.
This idea that he has this kind of counterculture, cool, kind of dangerous cartoon character that he's always wanted to use, and he's forced to do this treacly shit.
Right.
When he wakes up in the cartoon world, he's absolutely confused, but then his character shows up. He meets Flux Wildly, and they become friends. He says he'll help Drew get home.
Yeah.
So he takes Drew to King Hugh, and King Hugh is a smiley face.
Yeah.
With a crown, dressed up as a king, who is not a famous voice actor, but a famous impression.
Yes.
Later there's an Ed Wynn. This is somebody else from the old days, but I can't remember who this guy's name is.
Yeah. It's the actor's name or the
person he's doing the impression of.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a famous voice.
Yeah. I can't identify it either, but it's kind of very, very soft. Very soft and gentle delivery, kind of a little bit high pitch.
Yeah. It's almost like a new Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
But not quite.
Yeah.
It takes him to King Hugh. King Hugh says, listen, we can help you once you help us with this. Count Nefarious of the Malevolans has developed a Malevolator, this UFO that flies around and has turned the denizens of Qtopia into evil versions of themselves. So Hugh's inventor Bric-a-Brac who has invented a cutifier, but we need you to gather the components and parts so we can build that and restore the denizens of Cutopia.
And we have our mission. We need to go down and talk to Bric-a-Brac. This is our Edwin impersonator.
Yes. Who is a bird of some kind. He can't help us until he finds his glasses, setting up the adventure game structure of there's a problem in the attic.
Yes.
We just got to kind of go walk around. We go upstairs to the trophy room and there's a footman, this man who's made of a foot, a butler, but he's called a footman. He's made of a foot.
Yep.
And he whispers King Hugh to sleep every night. We can talk to everybody about King Hugh to kind of get a sense of him.
Yeah.
We ask about Bric-a-Brac's glasses and he says we should check Bric-a-Brac's pocket.
Yeah.
So we go back and tell Bric-a-Brac to look in his pocket.
Right. Kind of introducing us to the conversation system more than anything.
Yes.
So Bric-a-Brac takes us and shows us the blueprint for the Malevolator. Shows us the 12 items and says we need to find the corresponding items to reverse the effect. So one of these is already filled in. It has spice, and he figured, okay, sugar is the opposite of that. So go find the other 11. Yeah.
Yep. He gives you the blueprints and a bottomless bag. I think that's a cute touch. You actually have a magical bag for your adventure game inventory, and sends you out. And he warns you, nefarious henchmen, feedback, goggles, and lugnut are coming after you. These guys are patterned after the speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil.
They get so much background information about it. Like
they do. It's real weird because there's like two parts where they show up and you just have to go into a closet. But they get a lot of cutscenes. These guys, there's going to be like a spinoff.
Yeah. And it's like, these are people, but also they're robots. And they came to Count Nefarious and said like, oh, I can't hear. So he built him a big microphone ear. A lot of development went into these guys for not that much effect. So all of Cutopia is open to us, and we are in the nonlinear portion of the game, the body of it, trying to find these 11 items. The main street has some stores, there's a countryside with a barn, and there is a forest beyond that. I structured this in a way so like we open up places and then I talk about getting the individual items, and we can breeze over those if we want to.
It's not necessarily how you'll play. Like any adventure game, you are wandering around, checking to see what the shape of the land is, and then going around trying to put connections together. But the point and click adventure game, a lot of it is poking at the corners of what's available. But it makes sense to organize it that way. That wasn't a criticism, just kind of explaining the flow of what I did when I got here.
Yeah.
You get here, there is an arcade. Here in Cutopia, you can head into. This is run by Fingers, who is an octopus from Xanadu, who is voiced by Dom DeLuise. It's real weird. Kids, do you like Dom DeLuise in 1996?
Huge draw.
Absolutely huge draw. And this is one of the worst puzzles in the game. Here, I find. I don't know if you struggle with these. The dexterity puzzles in this, I do not like.
No, they're pretty bad.
And the adventure games never learned not to do that. Even like during the golden age of that, like Full Throttle's having action scenes and shit.
Yeah.
They never figured out not to do this.
Right.
So he has this game in his arcade called Whackman. And he's like, I'm the best at this. I have a contest. If anyone can beat it, he gets my mostly gold chain. We need this for the cutifier. And Whackman is kind of a fighting game where you stand across from each other, throwing stars at each other, either ducking or standing. And you can duck under the throwing star, but if you do that, it'll hit a chain behind you that will lower your weight.
Yeah.
So you're managing a health meter and a chain's health meter, basically. This took me many tries. All of the dexterity sections in this took me many tries.
Yeah. I succeeded at this just by randomly selecting a height and then spamming. Like there's nothing to limit you from just throwing as many stars as possible. Yeah.
If you beat him, you then get the chain.
Yes. Part of ball and chain. So we're going to try to get to Xanadu here, and the kind of funicular to Xanadu is powered by this elephant at the top of a machine. It like runs on a wheel, and we'll move we'll move it along a track. The thing is, to make it go forward, the shuttle holds out a peanut, but there's nothing to send him the other way. So using cartoon logic, in cartoons, elephants are afraid of mice. I never check to see if that is true. It's basically one of those quicksand facts. Yeah.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah.
We know where there's a mouse. If we go to the Irish Scottish pub in Qtopia, this is run by a hunk of cheese shaped like a shamrock who switches between a Scottish and Irish accent. We talk about this game having things that are kind of in the shape of jokes, or like being a fertile field in which jokes could grow. There's a lot made of this, of him switching back and forth between these two accents.
Yeah.
That is the joke.
It is the entirety of it.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot more to it, but he offers a prize if we can get rid of this mouse.
Yeah.
That's in his place. And the way we do this is that we play a pipe organ here, and it makes the mouse walk into a trap.
Yeah,
like to dance.
The hint for this is that the pipe organ was made by a company called Hamlin.
Yeah,
for
Pied Piper.
Pied Piper of Hamlin. Yeah.
It's one of these things though, like, and this is just me putting the system on trial. That is the hint. It's also one of the only two interactable things in the room.
Yes.
Like conservation of detail and the metal bar problem make point and click graphic adventure games like spend in a kind of a limited way.
Yes.
Like as much as I do like them and I like going through the stories, being introduced to the characters and stuff, it's rare that in this era of adventure game, I get a really good sense of puzzle. Because either one thing or another thing is happening. Either it doesn't make sense because I could use anything in my inventory for this, or I'm using the only thing available because there's not that many things available and it just happens to be right.
Yes.
There's nothing else in the room. Like what else are you going to do? Use the phone? It doesn't work. You're going to do it later.
Yeah. That's not for now. Yeah. Absolutely true. It's just, okay, the thing keeps running around, need to fix him in place by this trap. Pretty clear. And the shamrock, who is also cheese for some reason, gives us a leaky tankard as our prize. And we also keep the stunned mouse in our inventory.
Yeah, we pick him up and put it in our pocket. He won't threaten the elephant though if he's knocked out, so we have to wake him up. So we need to get some fertilizer for this, which we go to the barn outside of town. We don't use the mouse on, we can't use the mouse on it in the barn.
No.
The leaky tankard can't hold it. Right. We cannot get the fertilizer to where the mouse needs to be.
Right. I almost said it's very contrived, but it's a fucking adventure game.
Yeah. Of course it's very contrived.
Yeah. Otherwise there wouldn't be a game. So you've got to go to the trophy room, where the footman is dusting these trophies. And one of them is a watering can. This is the item. This is an item that you're going to be using for the entire game.
Yeah, it is a trusty watering can.
Yeah.
We have to distract the footman to get it. He won't let us take the trophies. So there are two, we go out to the front gate. There are two dumb armadillo guards guarding the gate. And if we tell them basically anything, they do a little dance. And when they do it, they drop a key and then they'll pick it up. We have to get them to do it twice and then pick up the key while it's on the ground.
Yes. This opens up King Hugh's bedroom, where we've got to go in and set up a trap. Find a secret door that goes to the cellar, and then open a trap door under this rug, and then ring the service bell to draw the footman in, so he will fall into the cellar and be down there for the rest of the game and presumably to this day.
Yeah, Amontillado to shit. So we get him trapped. Inside here, there is a note on the dresser that says, "Open up, don't shut down, go right in, don't be left out." This is the solution for a lights out puzzle. Top and bottom open, left and right closed.
Yes, on the dresser here.
Yeah. And this opens a secret door to a storage room. Inside the storage room, we can use this loose floorboard to launch Flux up to open this trapdoor room from below. And then ring a bell, causing the footman to fall into the basement and get trapped, as we mentioned.
Yes. So we take this fish trophy off the wall. It is a red herring. This is used for a very dumb puzzle later. But when we try to take the watering can trophy that's here, the door closes. It's kind of like attached to a little balance thing. So we have to replace it with a leaky tankard in order to get out. The room fills with poison gas until you find something to replace the golden lugers.
Yeah, literally that. Yep. So now that we have fertilizer in a watering can, we can wake up the mouse next to the machine and use that to take the shuttle to Zany-Do. Zany-Do, again, it's Animaniacs style, like super wacky. There are 3 neighborhoods, upper and lower Zany-Do, and then the way out back.
There are like 3 screens in this place. It's super
not very
slight.
developed.
Yeah.
Not very developed.
No.
Yeah. Shortly after we get there, we get a cutscene. There are cutscenes of this. This is a Catwoman, Miss Fortune, who is warning Count Nefarious of a new presence in Qtopia. He disregards her, being more interested in preparing for the next malevolating run. Miss Fortune is big with furries.
I'm not surprised.
I just found that out. Yeah. Looking into this, I was just like, a lot of people responded to Miss Fortune, the big titty cat hypnotist.
Yeah. She's designed to have sex appeal and voiced by Tress MacNeille. So you get some Babs Bunny appeal in there too.
Yeah. Sex appeal and Tress MacNeille.
Oh man. Yes. We're going to be dealing with her later on. Lower Zany-Do has something called the Whack Me department store. And obviously a play on Acme. This has a timing-based puzzle. There are revolving doors, and there are red and green lights above. You have to walk through a door when a green light is on above it, or else you will be flung out of the store.
Yes. Don't like the timing-based puzzles in this. I do like these guys.
Yes. This
is a part of this game I like. I don't laugh really. I just find this charming. There's a dog and a cat named Woof and Warp. And they're like an Itchy and Scratchy. This is the cartoon violence store, and they'll demonstrate any of their prototypes on each other. And the animations here are really like cute. There's like a flower that pushes acid, in his face, and you get to see his flesh melt off, and just the skull with the eyebrows and stuff. Like, it's really good looking.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I am not above some cartoon violence.
Yeah. You have him test all these things. One of them is an extending boxing glove, which knocks Warp's brain out, and he has stars over his head, which you can then grab.
Yeah.
Cute.
A neat little leap. Like, you've got to figure out, like, I can move during this. The window is real short, but you got to get up there and grab them.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. So there's a gift machine at the back that is only usable by paying customers, and we need to show them that we have a Whack Me item to access it.
Yes. Rather than getting money and buying a thing, we have to show them that we have bought a thing in the past at some point.
Right.
Even though they did not sell it to them. Weird adventure game shit.
Yes. In Zany-Do, there's a place called Jim's Gym. And there's a flyer for this giveaway contest to win a free Whack Me product. Instead of having phone numbers in this world, there are sequences of colors. It's 7 of them at the bottom of the flyer here. And you have to go to the Irish pub where there's a working phone and then dial the number for the quiz.
The phone only has the primary colors.
Yes. So if you need purple, you need to press the red and blue buttons in sequence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they give you a quiz about what color things are in the game world. This is padding.
Yep.
Even the nicest thing you can say about it. You should just look this up.
Yeah.
You don't need to walk around and take notes on what color things are to do this.
I'd rather this be copy protection.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's what it feels like. Honestly, like, it feels like copy protection. This is a bummer. The prize is a can of Whack Me jumping beans. We can then use this, prove that we've bought them to the guys, to use the Gift-O-Matic to get prizes. And we get 3 items we need here: a glove, a magnet, and a mallet.
Right.
Yeah.
So next we're going to try to get to the Malevolands, again, opening as much of this place as possible. And we have to head into the woods. Like, there's a spot where it very clearly goes from, being evil looking to, cute looking. And the path deeper into the Malevolands is guarded by BB Wolf, Big Bad Wolf, the Swinger Wolf.
Yeah, the wolf whose eyes come out when he sees Jessica Rabbit.
Awooga.
Awooga, the Awooga wolf. His thing is that he speaks in innuendo and like malapropisms together, and he wants a bottle of wine, or he's going to eat us. Yeah, Big Bad Wolf. The prize for winning the strength tester at the arcade is a bottle of Chablis, but the mallet that Fingers the Octopus gives us is rubber and it won't work.
Right.
So we can try to use the Whack Me mallet, but Drew is too weak.
Right.
to use it. So we had to go to the gym, Little Shades of Maniac Mansion, using the Hunkomatic.
Yeah. This is a gym that is run by a blue dog named Jim, who is an Arnold parody, literally just taken, taken from oh gosh, Tiny Toons, the dog there. He won't let us use his Pumpotron. We need to find a way to get him out of the equation. One of his dialogue options is to get him to demonstrate his gymnastics routine. And while he's doing this, or before he does this, you can butter up the pommel horse that he starts off on.
So to get butter, there's a barn outside of town that has a milking machine and some animals in it. There's a cow named Marge. This is also a Tress McNeil. Tress McNeil's everywhere. Yeah. And they have an old sad horse as well, named Elmer. This is just for later. Yep. And Flux drops an R-slur on him.
Yeah.
About the old horse here, because 1996. Their Churnotron that makes butter is broken. So we need to find this missing part.
Yes.
We can use our magnet near the haystack, near the machine, to get the missing part.
Mm-hmm.
And the cow, who is weirdly horny and gets weirdly hornier, suggests using this Churnotron to make some sticks of butter. Sorry, it's hot. It came directly from my body.
So we take this and we butter up the pommel horse, and Jim slips, gets caught on fire, and slams through a wall. Fortunately, Toons are indestructible, except for the dip. Yes. And we can use the Pumpotron. And while this happens, we get a scene of the Malevolator corrupting the barn.
Yes. I always went and checked these places out afterwards. And this is where we have to go there later. Yeah. But they've malevolated it into a sex dungeon.
Yep.
Like a farmyard sex dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
The Zoo 2.
Yeah, it's not even like it's not even like they're trying to get away with it. It's just straight up like one of the cows is on one of those S&M crosses.
Yeah, and keeps saying "whip my cream" over and over. Yeah, cream. So we pump up and we get strong, and we can now use the mallet. It's very cute when we do this, and we get Christopher Lloyd doing the little muscle man poses.
Yeah.
I find that cute. Yeah. So we can win the strength tester now. And we get a bottle of wine, but it's prune wine.
Yeah.
It's not the fine wine it's supposed to be as a prize. The bells shatter here. So we want to take those as well, because we're going to need those for the Malevolator or the cutifier.
Yes. Bells and whistles. So we take this wine to Big Bad Wolf, and he sicks his goons on us. And we wake up tied up in a boiling soup pot.
Yeah. To get out of this, we have to do the another world. You're out of this world thing. We have to rock it back and forth to tip over the pot. The pot goes rolling and destroys the entire scene. Yes. Rolls all around, smashes everybody here. And we can pick up a couple items here as we leave. And as we do, we get a cutscene of Nefarious sending his 3 henchmen after us.
Right. From this point forward, as we're looking for things, when we go into certain buildings, they will be approaching, like they'll come looking for us. Every one of the buildings or shops has like a closet or some kind of small side room you can go into.
Yeah, it's like Clock Tower.
Yeah, kind of.
You go and hide in the little thing until they leave. It is just a friction.
Yep.
Over this, it doesn't. The guys aren't funny.
Nope.
But they each get every time they're going to come in, we get a dedicated cutscene to them. It's weird.
I never got caught. You can get caught, and you're taken to the jail in Malevoland. And you got to do a little puzzle to escape. It's so easy to not get caught. By the time I got past the point where they were doing this, I had no idea. Couldn't go back.
Yeah. So the jail, if you do go there for this, the way you get out is there's a safe in it that has a sliding tile puzzle. You want to do this. You want to create this, complete this picture of the henchman, because you get a portable hole that has limited access. It only works where there are existing sewer holes, and you just use this to fast travel between the 3 town centers.
Yeah,
that is welcome.
It is welcome. Yes.
Yeah. More adventure games should have fast travel. Demerits for not allowing you to click on the other side of the map. And instantly transition through screens.
Yeah, that should just be a menu. I should not have to watch Christopher Lloyd walk in a realm.
The first time, it's a joy just to watch him walk.
Well, yeah.
You know, and then after that, it's like, I've seen this. You know,
although sliding tile puzzles, I hate them whenever they
fuck
show
that
up.
shit.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's really irritating. It reminds me of the things in this that like test your patience. It's like the color puzzle.
Yeah,
weird padding in this that kind of stops it from being like a top tier adventure game mechanically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now that we have the entire map open to us, we can focus on getting these items. To get the pepper for the salt and pepper, that is in the Malevolated barn. Or no, it's not in the Malevolated barn. It's in the forest. A pepper is kind of wrapped up in this Malevolated bush, is what it is. So we need to find a way to like get rid of this bramble bush. And what used to be the fertilizer is now this corrosive fluid in the barn with Marge and Polly, who are now in an S&M relationship.
Whip my cream.
Yeah, Marge being tied up to a wheel of love. She has a chain going from her nose to her udder ring.
Yeah. And now instead of Elmer the horse, there's just a glue machine just spitting out unlimited glue.
Yeah.
I know you make glue or you can make glue from horses. I don't think just the whole horse becomes glue. I don't just think, it's not like you throw one of those grenades from Prey at them. Just get tons of little glue things.
A different kind of glue gun.
Yeah. So that's what the churning machine has turned into. Marge will not give us any glue. She's yelling at Polly for not whipping her hard enough. She needs to get off before she can give us glue.
Right.
So we can take some kind of toxic liquid though, from what used to be the fertilizer barrel, use that on a briar patch to get the pepper from this. We'll come back later to get her rocks off.
Yeah. There is a screen where nothing happens in Zany-Do called The Way Out Back.
This is probably where eventually you would go to the Old West.
Yeah, probably.
In the second one. And it's also to like have like a Tasmanian devil, or Roadrunner. Every once in a while, cartoons take place in this kind of thing. This is a one screen item get.
Yeah.
In this. It's very funny.
There's a vulture who is on the sign that's an arrow. And this can go with the bow that's in the Malevolator for bow and arrow, but a vulture won't let us take it. We have to use this toxic goop on some meat that we found just laying on the ground in Malevoland, kind of down near the corner. It doesn't look interactable, but it is. It's a little bit of a pixel hunt.
Yeah. We poison the meat and poison the vulture, and then we can grab this sign and then never come back.
Yes.
When we go to the Qtopia Bakery, this is run by two frogs who call themselves the Baker Boys, Doe and me. They have, I like this joke. I've heard about this. One of them can only serve day old bread, and one of them only sells day early bread. Getting day early bread is funny to me.
Yes.
And they're missing their middle one who sells fresh bread.
Right. And
they also
one's named Ray. Yeah.
Yeah. And they sing little jokes, and he also told the middle of the jokes. So they keep telling, this is a good bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Good job, Toonstruck. This is funny. We need dough, eventually to make a roll for rock and roll. But they can't make dough because Qtopia is out of butter. But now that we have butter, they can make some dough, some day young bread.
And we can go back to Qtopia. When you go back to Qtopia here, this is when the henchmen came for me.
It's random.
This. Yes.
Yeah. They never came for me in here. They came for me in the costume shop and the bowling alley. And a third place I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But
so you've got to cook the dough in order to make it into a roll. There is a campfire in Big Bad Wolf's little cave there, with a roasting spit over it. So you roast it there, but you also have to take the spit for spit and polish.
Yes. So for the cloak, there's a dagger, cloak and dagger. We have one of these. To get this, we need a cloak. So there's this very flamboyant scarecrow. Who's called a carecrow. This is certainly a gay stereotype.
Oh, it absolutely
as was in 1996. Like, this isn't great. Is in the cornfield by the bard. He has a cloak, but he wants a new outfit because he's flamboyant. As you do, gay men be thinking about clothes in 1996.
He gives all these parameters, and Qtopia has this costume store that is run by this Valley Girl stereotype named Misfit. who is an avid reader. She is distracted by reading this book that she's got called Enigma, a book of unsolvable puzzles. She says like, "Oh, we were running this this promo where you could get a free rental for a costume, but I'm out of vouchers." The voucher in this is one of the better hidden items. It's up on King Hugh's bed. You have to send Flux after it.
Yeah. And once you get it, I got this early, but she won't take it without it being signed.
Yeah.
So you need to sign his mark, which you can use this music box he has with ink, this ink pad from the prison that we picked up to stamp his face on it. Just put a little smiley face on there.
Yeah.
The way this lady reads as an avid reader is insane. She loves reading, but she doesn't care what book she's reading.
Yeah.
You can switch books out with her throughout. You can be like, "Hey, can I borrow that book?" And you just, as long as you give her another book, she'll just start reading that one. It's real weird. Because we picked up a book in Big Bad's lair. So eventually we're going to need her book on squirrel mating rituals.
Yeah.
Or we're going to give her the squirrel mating ritual book in exchange for the Enigma book.
Right. She reads according to toilet rules pre-cell phone era.
Yes, pre-toilet. I didn't see any. There is one toilet in Toonstruck, but it's not for turds.
I'm just making a joke about reading a shampoo bottle on the toilet.
Oh yeah,
yes,
so we get a fly costume from this, and we can rent a Harlequin costume for the Scarecrow. We can give it to him in exchange for the cloak, but he immediately gets malevolated and turns into an evil Scarecrow.
Yes.
Here. So we need to get the nuts. As we mentioned, they're just tree nuts. And this is in the path towards the Dark Forest. There is an evil malevolated squirrel who will not let us grab any of the acorns. We need to get these for the nuts and bolts.
In the jail, you find this book on squirrel mating habits outlining kind of this effigy you need to make for this guy to fuck.
For him to fuck? Yeah. For him to put loads into. Like, the squirrel needs somewhere to keep his loads.
So,
like saving up all his loads for the winter.
We need to find something that we can give a big bushy tail, some white teeth, and find a way to make the squirrel jump up and down.
And that's enough. I'm already horny. Like, that is pretty good.
Oh man, if it's moving,
can you imagine a moving mate? Good Lord. Somebody stop me.
Awooga.
Awooga.
So, in the meadow outside of Qtopia, we can run into Fluffy Bun Bun, who is not so much distraught about the progressing malevolation of the meadow. She is very upset that somebody has given her the wrong snack. Somebody gave her cotton candy, and she really wanted popcorn. And it kind of putting on a show here, like she's acting off.
Yeah. Which, there's a reason for that. So we can make our popcorn. We can grab corn from the Scarecrow area, cook it on BB Wolf's fire, trade it for the cotton candy. We combine this with the keys from the bakery's broken piano and the jumping beans. So we have something with teeth, hair, and can jump, but we need something to glue it all together. So we got to get that glue.
Yes. So what we have to do? Oh no! The way out back has something for us. You've got to go to that washer and grab a feather. In order to advance.
It's a 2-item screen.
Yeah, it's a 2-item screen. Completely different than a 1-item screen. We have to graduate the S&M cows from pain torture to tickle torture.
Yeah. So we tickle the nips on the cow, and this is enough to satisfy her, where she'll give us some glue.
Yes.
Here. So we need something to glue everything to. We can use the roasting spit to open a cabinet in the king's castle and find a stuffed cat.
Right.
This feels very random. It's a locked cabinet on the first floor that just has a single stuffed cat in it. We can then use this to assemble the fake squirrel.
Right.
And the evil squirrel runs away with it immediately to stash loads, and Flux can grab the nuts from top using a cute little elevator.
Yeah. I like the idea of a squirrel elevator. That probably operates on the principle of lifting nuts up and down.
Yeah, it's more of like a grain elevator kind of thing. Yeah.
So one of the clues that we have is needles. So we need to get some pins for pins and needles. And there is a club in Malevoland on the main street called Seedy's. It's a bowling club. It's a bowling alley, but there's a big pink bouncer monster. Kind of looks like Gossamer, who talks like an old timey gangster and won't let us in without the proper attire.
Yep. So we put on the cloak to look evil to go in and be seedy. We can go in there. The prize for rolling a strike is a trophy that has 3 golden bowling pins, but only Seed, the owner, has ever rolled a strike. This is also a thing where I'm like, man, we've done a variation on this before.
Yeah.
This is somebody who's just proud of their contest here. Mm-hmm. He demonstrates his technique, slamming the ball into his butt and farting it down the lanes. Respect. So to get a lane, we use the glue on the bowling ball. And when he does this, he throws himself down the lane, being turned into a pin.
Yeah.
Here. Drew cannot roll a strike, but we can throw Flux down there and Flux will knock over the pins.
Yeah.
Including the bear pin. Yeah. The sentient bowling ball will take care of it.
Yeah.
And then we can win the trophy.
Yes.
There.
And the trophy satisfies 4 pins. The final thing that we need, and this is maybe my least favorite puzzle outside of the what color is everything deal. One of the things in the machine is a heart, so we need a soul to go along with it. And up by the gym in Zany Do, there is an outhouse, like a dedicated building for a bathroom, and there's a guard who is on duty, talks like Joe Friday, ha 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 ha. And he is on duty until the clock rings, but the problem is the clock is broken, so it never rings as his his time off.
And this outhouse is only for flushing fish.
Yes,
nobody uses make in here. They just put fish into the toilet.
Right.
Clock is on the other side of town, and we have to set it, and it's difficult and arbitrary feeling.
Yeah.
The left lever advances the minute hand by 1 number and then retreats the hour hand by 1 number. The right lever advances the hour hand, whatever number of steps the minute hand is pointing at.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's complicated and you can almost kind of admire it as a thing, but like every one of these puzzles, all I do is fiddle with them until I win.
Right. Yeah.
I never like do the logic of these. I know you're supposed to. I almost never do it.
Yeah.
I just kind of go, blah, 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 and then it eventually just works.
It's like,
how long do I have to do that?
I figured out the logic of it and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I just have to do this just a bunch of times and I didn't work out the intermediate steps. I just fucked around while kind of understanding how it worked.
Yeah. You basically, like, you could sit down with a piece of paper and pencil and write out the method, or you could click and tell it go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guard steps aside so we can get inside and we find the toilet is clogged. There is a robot shop on the main street of Malevoland we need to go to, owned by this evil genius robot who talks like Christopher Walken. We want his plunger. He won't let us, his automatic plunger. He won't let us take it. And he insists that he can answer any question. We have the book on squirrel mating, which we no longer need. We can then trade it to Misfit at the costume store. And she's like, okay, I don't want to read out puzzles anymore. I'll read out squirrel sex. Gives us the book and we can use it to ask the robot, what's the one question you cannot answer?
Yes.
Basically this statement is a lie kind of contradiction.
Logic bomb. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes his head fall off and we can take his plunger.
Yes. This is a timing-based puzzle. First, I hate this. You have to flush the red herring. This gets the system going. And there's like a viewing window that shows like what fish is currently nearest the toilet. And when you plunge, you get that fish. You have to basically do this until you figure out you have to get the green fish, which is a soul, SOLE. Haha.
Yeah. None of this makes any sense even by cartoon logic. Like the sentence you just said was fucking insane. This idea that like you send the red herring down to get it going and then there's a toilet slot machine that gives you a different fish depending on when you plunge the toilet is what this is. Fuck me. Like what is that? What is that? Like, this doesn't map onto anything. It doesn't even map onto cartoons. Like it's hard for me to imagine the Animaniacs using a toilet slot machine that gives you fish. It doesn't feel like it's like predictive text wrote that or something.
You should drug test whoever proposes this as a puzzle.
Yeah, I wonder what they were on.
Not
What
even
they were
like
smoking
that.
when they made this game?
Not even like that. I'm just worried about their safety if this is the
I guess that's
how
true.
they're operating.
The gas leak over at Burst. So we have all the things now.
Yep.
We go into the lab, we put our key items into place, and into the new device. Bric-a-Brac gives us and says, "Hey, go cutify everything."
Right.
And we go and we restore the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Our people, our friends, our scarecrow, and our S&M cows.
Yes.
This is while Count Nefarious sends his henchmen after us.
Mm-hmm.
When we finish, Hugh says, "Oh, you haven't satisfied the deal. I said you wanted to I said I need you to cutify everything.
Mm-hmm.
That includes Xanadu and Malevoland." And comes off real sinister.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is making a power grab.
Yes.
There.
And Drew refuses, partially because this would mean cutifying Flux, right?
Yeah. And this is what he's rebelling against in his real life.
Yeah.
He wants these cartoons with cool edges. He doesn't want everything to be fluffy, bun bun.
Right.
And
he's willing to stay trapped here forever. Even if it means he just won't do this. So the king falls over and we get the big reveal that Fluffy Bun Bun has kidnapped the king and disguised herself as him all along, and cutifying this world is only one step. She eventually wants to be a god.
Yep. And cutify the entire multiverse or whatever.
Right.
She puts her costume back on and calls the guards and flies off to go cutify things. And she zaps us first.
Mm-hmm.
Drew is not affected because he's human, but Flux has now been cutified.
Yeah.
Flux is a goody two shoes. And we get captured by Nefarious's henchmen. Hugh sends Flux to go pilot the machine to cutify everything while we're put in jail.
Right.
Over in the castle, Nefarious has us, and he injects us with a mutagenic ink that is eventually going to turn us into a toon.
Yeah.
Demanding to know where the cutifier is.
Yeah. And he has Misfortune hypnotize Drew into giving the information over.
Yes.
And now it turns into a traditional linear adventure game.
Yeah. This is not as fun.
Nope.
These puzzles aren't as good. We don't have Flux with us. I don't love Flux, but it gave your character someone to talk to.
Yes.
In this, and it was like a puzzle verb for you. This is a very truncated section, even though the main thing this got cut was not having the sequel, but you can feel the cuts here as well. In addition to in Xanadu.
Yes.
Feeling like it was cut down quite a bit.
Yeah. So you're in a jail cell in this dungeon, and you're being guarded by this rhino with a stuffed snotty nose.
Messy Tessie.
Rhinitis. Yeah. Messy. Messy. Sorry, I forgot about the garbage pail kid.
How did you fucking forget about Messy Tessie?
Some things you repress for your own good.
I am going to start sending you snapshots of Messy Tessie.
God damn it.
In the physical mail. So you never forget. Because you can ignore an email or you can mute me on Slack. I know you do it. But you could, not just a joke.
Okay.
but I could start sending you postcards. Well, you do it. A postcard, you don't even have to open. You look at it automatically. So as soon as you open your mailbox, bam, you got test. You print out a Messy Tessie smiling.
That is a great amount of effort to go to in order to make me very uncomfortable. Getting a single postcard printed is quite expensive.
Well, next you're going to tell me you forgot about Greaser Greg, and we're going to have to start this whole thing over again. I need you to remember the GPK.
Yeah.
Anywho, so he's got a stuffy nose. He swallows the key to the cell. I like this puzzle. One thing that happens if you get caught in this jail, you go back to this jail, and he will continue to up his stakes of ways to guard against what you're going to do. And you have to solve a slightly different puzzle each time.
Yeah.
Which is fun. He's very stuffed up. He can't really breathe. So what we do is we check the welcome mat outside of our cell. We get this yellow crystal So we need that. And if we grab the welcome mat, we can use it to dust and make him sneeze and drop his key.
Yes.
Every time we go back, it's something slightly different. Like he gets rid of the welcome mat. And we have to do new things to make him sneeze.
Yeah. It's neat. I never got captured.
Yeah. I don't remember what the second one was, but then I looked it up and I was like, how many deep does this go? And it eventually just defaults to something you can do every time.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to have unlimited things, but it does do it multiple times.
Yes. One of the rooms that's open to you here is a furnace room, and you can open up this vent. But the climatic, the furnace or whatever, set to AC, and the walls are too slippery. Here you have to remember that you got this fly costume, and intuit that putting on this fly costume will give you the ability to climb up walls.
Yes. You get a little animation of him Christopher Lloyd doing a little superhero human fly thing, which is cute, like a couple times.
Yes.
But it keeps happening.
Yeah.
This allows us to climb up into the bathroom. We can't leave the bathroom though, because there are these gator guards there. We have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
There's a clown face door outside the dungeon. We play Simon by pulling parts of the clown's face. It's a 11 sequence Simon.
Ridiculous.
Very funny. And then inside there's a weird bit. This is guarded by Spike the Clown, who is a serial killer clown, evil clown. This is a big part of the marketing for this game.
Yeah, Spike is on the box, and he's on one scene and involved in one puzzle.
Yep, Spike is barely in this game. He's on the box, on the German box. He's a huge part of it. He's like the main element on the cover. Yeah. Like they really thought they were cooking with Spike the Clown, but he's barely in it. I wonder if he would have factored into the second half.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Mid-90s are weird.
It's super weird. Yeah.
Misfortune had broken his mind to keep him funny. But he's in this padded cell now, and he keeps making these balloon animals and then popping it with this very large pin that he has.
Yeah. So we use some chloroform that we got in the bathroom that we picked up on his nose when he takes off his nose to powder himself. And this knocks him out. Goodbye, Spike. This allows us to take his big pin and his red balloon.
Right. When you do this, we get like a little scare here of Drew getting temporarily toonified. That mutagenic ink is starting to work. Yes.
There's nothing really to suggest that being toonified is bad. Similar to how there's nothing that really suggests how Count Nefarious got you using the Malevolator into this. Like there's some weird plot holes in this, not to CinemaSins it, but it is this weird way where it presents really huge stakes for things that have just not been established in the story.
Right.
That feel like evidence of things being cut out.
It's kind of implied that if you get toonified, you're not going to be able to go back to your old life.
He hates his old life.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of how it ends with him, like, I'm back in the saddle here, but like the stakes feel very low.
Yeah.
I return to the bathroom, we overflow the sink, and then we can use the pin as a lever on the climatron in the furnace room to set it to cold. This makes all the water we put on the floor freeze, and we taunt the gator guards, and they slip and fly out the window. So it gets rid of some of them.
Yeah, and now we can, go up and down the stairs here. Where the gator guards were, there are some gargoyle statues kind of on the stair railings, and you can lift up one of them to get a blue crystal, but when you press the horn to make the other one kind of work, the horn on one of these guys, this is super arbitrary.
Yes,
you can't approach it because if it sees you approaching, it will revert. Like you're not going to be able to get the crystal from inside of it.
Yes.
So we have to take this long way around in order to kind of sneak up on it to get this green crystal. It's not been explained what we're getting the crystals for just yet.
No, we just know we pick up things.
Yeah.
To make us go. One of the doorways leads to this room with a bookcase, which is bisected by a portcullis. There's a mina bird in the dungeon that gives us a solution for this bookcase puzzle here. This is a logic grid pulling out the books. And the bookcase opens, revealing a passageway.
Yeah.
Inside this passageway, a sleepy security guard is here, and we can lull him to sleep using the music box. And then eventually set his computer monitor to show the hall above and use a magnet to move this suit of armor across tiles to do this portcullis. This is all very complicated shit.
Yeah.
This is the one thing I'll say in the second half of this versus the first half in terms of what they're trying to do. I don't know if it's super successful, but the second half is much more about how these spaces relate to each other. Whereas everything was just kind of a single screen with puzzles. Here, like, taking the long way around to get the green crystal, or, using this room is above this room and we're going to use the magnet to move something in another room.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like, you're doing things like that in this area. They're trying to make things interconnected and kind of the solutions reach across walls and floors.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's better. But you can kind of see it as something they're kind of pushing.
But it's a thing, right? You are in one building. Yeah. I'm not sure
I kind of get
successful it is either, but like it is, it's worth noting at the very least.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So the stairway that this opens up by moving the statue, the statue of the armor, goes up to the storage room where the three henchmen guys are playing poker and listening to very loud rap music.
Yes. Very funny. There's TNT, we can get one of the boxes, and one of the other boxes is hopping. When we pry it open, we find Ray, the baker frog, the middle frog here. He says Nefarious has created an interdimensional warp device that'll get us home. Probably how he grabbed us in the first place, but it's weird that he did it with the Malevolator. And gives you a red crystal, saying that this has something to do with the warp. And he talks like Rain Man because it was a thing that was on TV.
Yeah.
At the time.
His name's Raymond. Rayman. Yeah, like that character in that movie.
Yeah. So we need to get up to Nefarious. To do this, we go to the very top of the stairs and find this room divided by another portcullis. There's a button on the far wall, and we need something to press it.
There's a room that we couldn't get into. We could look through the door and see that it's a rec room with some gators playing pool. And there's a dumbwaiter that goes into this room. It's one of the only things you can really like interact with when you're looking at this. So you have to figure out, okay, where does that come from? Well, the kitchen.
Yeah. Yep. So downstairs in the kitchen, a robot is making turkeys and loading them into the dumbwaiter, turkey after turkey. He won't let me do anything here, so we douse him with water from the sink, rusting him. Yeah. Killing the robot. We get some TNT from that storeroom by hopping into Ray's crate and shimming to the right when the henchmen aren't looking. Put some dynamite in the turkey, light it on the stove, and then send it up to the gators in the dumbwaiter. The gators will fight over it until it explodes, turning them into just bags and boots. And soot everywhere, or like leather bags, alligator bags. Yeah. And then the only unexploded thing is the pool cue, which you can grab.
Yeah. But this alone will not work. Won't quite reach. We have to grab the gauntlet off of the knight armor and put it on the end. This will make it reach. Infuriating.
They're irksome.
Yeah.
Past this portcullis is the entryway for Nefarious's chambers. This is locked by a handprint ID, and one for Misfortune's quarters, which is locked by a voice print. So we had to put some of the clown's helium into a balloon and then imitate the small henchman voice.
Yes.
With helium to get in. Misfortune will immediately hypnotize you and send you back to your cell. So we need to somehow block her gaze.
Yes.
Here.
And so a door on we need to find something. There's one door that we haven't gone in yet is locked and we need a key. On one of the landings, there's a fish bowl with a treasure chest inside of it. But this fish, kind of a goldfish piranha thing, is guarding it. What we have to do is set the heat so high that the water boils and the fish jumps out.
Yeah. Take that. See, it's actually about climate change, not about creative blocks. Doing this, he jumps out. We reset the temperature, race to the bowl before the fish gets back into it.
Yes.
And inside, we have a key inside the chest. This locked door leads to a study with a whole lot of items. We have to kind of go through this cartoon nonsense with this Venus flytrap and the fly costume in order to get the sunglasses, tempt this Venus flytrap by dressing up as a fly. Get these sunglasses. And this whole room full of antiques gets destroyed in the process just to get this one low value item.
Yes. So we have this, and these are mirrored shades, as was the style. So we return to Misfortune with the sunglasses, and when she tries to hypnotize Drew, she hypnotizes herself. And we can issue a command. We can have her go and use the hand scanner to open up Nefarious's lair.
Yep. Yeah. And then afterwards, we give her some post-hypnotic suggestions that will torture her.
Yes.
In the future. So we get into Nefario's lair. And there's a huge command center in it and a locked door to the Malevolator. And we need to power everything with the crystals. So we had to set them in the right place on the panel. And then take the warp device from the panel and do a lights out switch puzzle with the door lock to get the Malevolator to gain access to that.
Yeah.
And then when we get into the Malevolator UFO, Nefarious radios Drew and tries to make a deal with us.
Yeah.
I will give you the antidote for the Toon virus. But we refuse because we need to zap Nefarious and Fluffy and kind of fix him here and fix our buddy Flux.
Some basically save Zany do from these other two kingdoms.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is the ending cutscene. Like the last thing was that lights out puzzle deal.
Yeah, that was the climax.
Anticlimax. Yeah.
Because we go after Flux in the cutifier, we zap him with the Malevolator, which causes this collision between the two crafts. As we're falling out of the sky, we take out the warp device. And we're going to use it to warp back home, but Flux gives us a communicator. Titania hands you a crystal. Says, if you ever need me. So we warp back to our own world. We wake up at the drawing board. It was all just a dream.
Yeah.
And we think that the dream means, this is the universe telling me Flux should come to the Fluffy Fluffy Bun Bun show.
Yes. Reboot it with this kind of edgier, poochy element to it.
Yeah, bring in a poochie.
Yeah.
But Ben Stein will not stand for this.
No. He wanted 25 shitty bunnies.
Yep. And he says, hey, you're trying to destroy the company. You have until tomorrow morning to bring me more bunnies. So Drew is still sad. He goes back to his office and he hears beeping. And this is the communicator. Flux says Nefarious and Fluffy are still going at it. We need help. And Drew says, I wonder how I'm going to get to Toonland, but the mutagen ink turns him into a Toon.
Yes.
And he warps away.
But it's like more realistic than the other Toons. It is just like a cartoon caricature of Christopher Lloyd.
He does turn into like a cracked magazine drawing of Christopher Lloyd for this. I love Flux saying Nefarious and Fluffy are still at it.
Yeah, you didn't solve our problems.
There's really no detail to that or anything. Like just bad things are still happening. It's real oh no, a bunch of other bad stuff just happened. So you have to go kill these bonies. And then this would have been a cliffhanger for you being a cartoon Christopher Walken. Going through and
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. Yeah. Christopher Walken, very different. Christopher Lloyd cartoon going through and dealing with struggles with writer's block in the Old West. Would have been the thing.
Yeah.
And that's Toonstruck, a game I'm really glad I played, but not because I loved it. I had an okay time, but I'm glad to add to the canon.
Yes.
Of just kind of mid-tier 90s adventure games I know. I get why this is a cult classic. It looks really good. And rooms in which you only do one thing have a tremendous amount of detail and little side commentary.
Right.
You go into that robot repair shop where you have to ask the robot the logic question. We're just there to get a plunger. There's not a whole lot else there, but there's tons of detail in the room, little things you can comment on. So there's just a lot of attention to detail and care put into this that I can understand why this would draw a lot of affection.
Yes.
From people. On top of it just not having saturation. If you found this, if you did happen to play this in 1996, that would feel pretty special because no one ever talks about this.
Yes.
I can understand why this has kind of a reputation as a lost gem, even though I think it is a visually impressive and conceptually impressive, C plus B minus adventure game of the era.
Yeah. It's got it has that aesthetic and the amount of just effort and money kind of working for it. And that's the gamble that any game makes when it puts all of its resources into visual impressive-ness, right?
Yeah. Presentation is always going to be something that ages worse than anything else.
Yes.
See Crysis, right? This is not as this does not feel cynical in that respect. No, in how it's leveraging presentation. It's kind of pure in that way.
And there's something weird about this where I did not play this when it came out because I was a little bit too young to ask for this or ask for a computer that would run it well enough. And by the time I had one, this was out of print. It was not easily accessible. And then for a while, when I was in college, so I'm talking 2008, 2009, and I had just started going and revisiting a bunch of stuff from Scum, using Scum VM, right? This wasn't really around back then in a way that you could easily get. So it still felt kind of out of reach and had this little halo around it because of that. And now it's just on GOG, and you could and you just have it. It's just here. Yeah.
Now that it's available, it's nice to have to fill in my blank.
Yes.
That feels good. I really appreciate ForgeBot for sponsoring this because it's something that I wouldn't have occurred to me probably to do, even though since this became available everywhere, I've long thought, when I'm in the mood for one of those, maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Giving me the push to do that is I'm grateful for that.
And it's a reminder of what a treasure Christopher Lloyd is.
Yeah. Yeah. And a decent version of the genre for fans of this genre.
Yes.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
If you have thoughts about Toonstruck, please write in at duckfeed.tv/contact by the 15th. The deadline's always the 15th. This is the 15th of November. And if you have thoughts about our other games, write in as well. That's Balatro and Diablo 2. Not Diablo True. Diablo 2.
Yeah. If you have thoughts about December's game, which is Cyberpunk 2077 and its associated DLC, Phantom Liberty, that deadline is the 15th. We like responses that are concise and specific.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you're a marginalized creator of any kind, and you have a project or product you'd like us to shout out, please send me an email at gary@duckfeed.tv. Include pronouns, link, pronunciation, all those things that are useful. We'd be happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to support us.
If you do, you go to patreon.com/duckfeed.tv. Get bonus content, bonus episodes of this show. There'll be a bonus episode next month. We're not quite sure what it is going to be. Diablo 2 is a premium episode. So to get the full version for that, that's where you get it.
Yeah, and you get all the old ones as well.
Yes.
It is a good value, we think. You can also rate and review our podcast. Subscribe also helps, and telling people. So tell your friends, write about it on post. If somebody is like, hey, anyone remember Toonstruck? And you can be like, yes. And then just, link this episode.
Pass it along.
All that stuff helps. And also join us in thanking our producer, Gwen.
Thank you so much, Gwen.
Yeah. Until next time, what should they watch out for?
Well, until next time, they should make sure to watch out for the middle of this joke is missing the entire Mississippi River.